it's a darn good amendment. It says, give the press the ability to speak to the people. Give the people the ability to say what's on their mind, to be able to criticize government without fear and punishment, to protest peacefully. So it says what it says. But as usual, those who have power, those who are in charge, don't seem to understand that you have to implement, you have to use the amendments as written.
I'm just seeing in this memory of me in the streets of Lancaster with the religious community. And we were all singing the traditional songs in the streets and walking with a message to the community. The messaging of Latino protest is built around a call of faith, the dictates of conscience, and fasting, pilgrimage, and prayers, and carrying of religious symbolism such as the cross or statues of image of the Virgin Mary, for example. So, it's the First Amendment is so linked to the expressions and the identity of Latinos.
In the reaction to the murder of George Floyd, the huge number of people who are out on the streets. And even though it's an epidemic, I think the government didn't stop that because they realized people have a First Amendment right to express their outrage and demand justice. That's the First Amendment at work.
First introduction I had to the ACLU was in 1986 when I was at John Dickinson High School, and I refused to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. And I was told at John Dickinson by my homeroom teacher, whose name I will not say, but I do remember, that I was going to be suspended. And there were 3 teachers in the building who said she will absolutely not be suspended, and we're going to go directly to the ACLU if you try and suspend her. So I didn't get suspended, but I had to sit in the back of the classroom with my desk facing the back wall, sort of in a major time out. So even when your rights are guaranteed, it doesn't mean that whatever decision you make is an easy decision, and carrying out that decision is really hard, especially when we're thinking about kids in elementary school, middle school, high school. I mean, that's a significant amount of burden to put on someone's shoulders, right?
We also have to realize that just recently, Congressman John Lewis, a giant in the civil rights movement, passed away. He was the perfect example of someone using his First Amendment rights to march and to non-violently protest in favor of voting rights. And unfortunately, it took spilling his blood on the Edmund Pettus Bridge, but we got the Voting Rights Act in 1965, in part because of efforts of persons like him.
That was the feature of Cesar Chavez, the famous Delano Fast and March for Farm Workers' Rights. That's important to talk about. And that was no different from the iconography of Martin Luther King protests, beginning with the church kneeling in prayer at the critical moment, and the rhetoric of joining the rights guarantee and the U.S. Constitution to the authority of the Bible, so that those beliefs. So today, struggles for racial justice takes place in this foundation and shows the relevance of the First Amendment.
One of the issues with structural racism is the lack of public consensus. And we think that if you pass a law, everything's going to be okay. So we pass laws. We passed the Voting Rights Act. We passed the Civil Rights Act. And along comes the Supreme Court and says, the heck with that. They don't mean anything. So it turns out it's not passing laws. It's using the First Amendment, speaking to the people, getting the people to speak together, so that we can understand the misinformation all of us have been fed.